What's up guys? Welcome back for another one. Today we're going to be installing this Rigid Adapt XP headlight on the street model. I've had the headlight sitting in the garage for some time now. I was just waiting for an opportunity to install this bracket that you see right here. Now this bracket was made by a company called Kleen Moto and it's specifically designed for the Memphis Shades Road Warrior fairing, and it comes with everything you see right here. The Rigid Adapt kit comes with everything you see right here along with some additional parts if you were going to install this traditionally on a vehicle. Kleen Moto's instructions tell you which parts that you'll need from that kit in order to complete the install on your motorcycle. So let's jump right into it. I'll show you the tools that you need to do this install, and then we'll just do a little step-by-step, put it on the bike and test it out. As far as tools that are needed, you're going to be looking for an 11 open-end wrench and an 11 ratchet. You're going to have a number 5 hex and a number 3 hex for these two different style bolts. I have the long ones because you're going to be running it through the bracket here, so to get it through there I chose to grab the long ones. Some blue Loctite. When you get to the wiring harness part, you're going to need some heat shrink, and you can use solder if you want to solder the wires. That's probably the preferred method. Myself personally, I'm going to try these solder sticks. They come in various sizes. You slip them on, use your heat gun, and there's a little ball of solder and it forms the connection that way. So I'm going to try this and hopefully that'll work well. So let's talk about the install process. We'll start with the bracketry at first. I disconnected this from the back of the main bracket and I just put the nylock nuts back on so those bolts don't fall out when I'm messing around here. So this cutout is for the wire itself, and the idea is this. There are holes on both sides, 2 sets of holes, and you're going to be using a large one and a small one on either side. Just going to drop this in like this and run your bolts through this hole on the side. Probably have to drop your nut right down in there and then tighten them up on either side and then attach this to the main bracket. So I've installed the 2 bolts with the nylon nuts on the other side. Probably see it that way. The bigger one, there's a little pocket for the nut itself and it sits in there, so you don't need to hold the nut. For the smaller one you do. I used a thin vice grip just to grab the back of that while I torqued it down. There are torque specs in the rigid installation instructions, so follow that. Again, I did it on both sides, ran the wire through the hole here. So now the next step, take these off, mount it to the bracket, tighten them down. Alright, we've got the light attached to the bracket. I just wanted to go over a few things with you. Here you can see what the entire thing looks like. I would say this thing weighs right around 5-6 pounds. The light's a little bit over 4, and this is probably another pound, maybe 2 pounds. But you can see I passed the wire through both holes, tightened these down. What I did was, using my open end, I locked it in here like this and then used my ratchet to tighten it down there. So that's pretty much it. So now it's just a matter of dropping it in the Memphis Shades fairing and replacing the bolts that they gave you to hold it down. All in all, everything looks nice. Looks like a real clean install. If I had any concerns, it's that the weight of the bracket and light together are being held up by the fairing bolts, and that's just on the fairing itself. So we'll see. We'll put it in there and we'll keep going. Just to review real quick what you got in the Memphis Shades fairing. You have 4 of these. Goes through the holes. You got a bracket for either side. And you have these short bolts, and there's two washers. There's a lock washer and a regular washer. You're going to replace these with these. They're a little bit longer. We'll have a blue Loctite and put them in. The trick is, this is a good time to have somebody if you have an extra pair of hands, because what you're going to have to do is hold this down on both sides, and then this bracket is going to rest on top. The headlight is not the same shape as this, but this does flex, so if you push it in slowly, it will slide right through. And when it's sitting flush, you loosely tighten all four, and then you tighten down the spec. All right, so here we have the bracket installed. This was way harder than it needed to be. I think the main issue is that this bracket, I feel like it needs to be flexed out like this a little to sit flushly. Like I had to really pry it on either end to line up the holes, and then actually tape down the black things in front just to hold them in place while I tried to catch the threads and tighten them down. So if you have an extra pair of hands, highly recommended. But it's done now. I'll show you what it looks like from the front. I think it looks pretty good. I'm sure there's going to be some adjustments I need to make once I get this thing on the motorcycle, but so far so good. We're going to move on to the wiring harness now, and then we'll go put this on the bike and see how it goes. So moving to the wires, you have 3 wires, black, white, and red. And on the plug you'll be using, you have the same, so you're just going to match the wires up. I have a little heat shrink right here that I'll slide over, and I will be using these connectors. Basically they just slide over, and you want to make sure the wire itself reaches the middle, and you'll do the same on the other side. You'll slide this through, make sure the wires overlap in the middle, and you just hit it with your heat gun. So this is how I'm going to try to do it. You know, they recommend soldering it. You can certainly go that route. Alright, so I think this is my plan. I guess technically you could undepin the plugs and try to sneak your headlight wires in all of this mess through the neck. But that just looks like a lot of trouble. That looks like it's going to be, you know, harder than even what it seems. So my plan is, you have these big relays at the end here. So I'm going to find a way to strap these down on this side. Negatives right here. You got to take this caddy off and everything to even get to the battery. Pull the dipstick out. There's like a clip down here, and then you finagle a clip. This little plastic clip here. I think there's another one on the other side. So that's fun in itself. But now I can see the positive terminal, negatives terminals right here. So I'm gonna strap this down here. I'm probably gonna come up, follow these fuel lines, see if I can tuck this on the other side of the spark plug wire, and I'm gonna shoot to the other side of the motorcycle, just so all my wires are kind of coming from this general area here. So I'll probably come up, run this guy, something like that. I'll go put the fairing on just to make sure I know how much slack I need, and then I can go back and just find different points to tie strap this wire all the way back and make it as neat as possible. So don't forget, pull your main fuse. Batteries on these Softail M8s are a pain in the ass to get to, but you can do it. If you've gotten this far already, you can definitely do it. You got to pull all this wiring out to get the headlight plug, which is right here. And yeah, so we'll do that and we'll keep rocking. So like I said before, you have this positive inline fuse here with this little clamp here. All you're gonna do is slide it all the way in, clamp it down, and you're good. This is now ready to be fed in and hooked to positive. All right, just to show you guys, I've got the negative connected. Here's my wire with the fuse. I've got the positive connected. Relays I'm gonna figure out when I put the caddy back on. And my plan right now is to run the wire something like this. And just kind of figure it out as I go. I do have the fairing on, so it looks good. I'm sure there's going to be some adjustments later. Something else to note too, coming off this wire, there's two plugs. You have the old headlight plug. That's where you're going to plug the second plug that comes with the kit. And then this is just going to go into the headlight itself. So at least this way I keep these wires with the rest of these control wires here. That's the current plan. I'll just keep rocking and keep you posted. All right, so this is kind of what I came up with. As you can see, those relays are just tucked in there like that. If you follow the cable, it went under the spark plug wire, over the fuel rails, and underneath to the other side. Get a look at it with the amber cover on. And basically I come up right there, and like I said before, there's two plugs. One goes into the original headlight plug. I have that in the rubber socket, and then the pigtail that goes to the light itself, I've also doubled back from the light itself. There's the wire right there. Pretty clean install. Everything looks pretty clean up in here. And I doubled it back, and it's also inside that rubber jacket. All right, so let me turn it on for you guys real quick so you can see what it looks like with the amber light. Super bright. And we'll be doing a comparison between that and the LP6 that's on the Road King. When you turn it off, it does turn itself off. Just takes a second. Oh, there you go. So I'm sure there's plenty of adjustments that I still have to do, but for right now, that's where we're at. So I'm just gonna button up the rest of the motorcycle. All in all, it wasn't extremely difficult, but there were certainly some challenges. One being the bracket itself. I felt like it just needed to be flexed a little bit wider to line up with the 4 bolts on the Memphis Shades fairing, but I was able to get it, and it's pretty solid, locked in. And the other part is getting to the battery. Like, accessing your battery on the Softail should not be this hard, but there's so much stuff you got to do. You got to pull out this dipstick. This has got to come out. There's a caddy in here that you have to unclip here, and then there's a thing up here. Not fun, but luckily I didn't have to pull the battery, I just had to access the terminals. And then it's just figuring out the best way to run your wire. So happy with the setup so far. I'm gonna take it out for a ride and show you guys what it looked like at night, and you'll get my overall review. So you guys know what to do. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.